Alright, I'm mixing it up a little bit this week with my deck tech. The last two I've had have been heroics, and I really like playing them. That's why I have a whole bunch of heroic decks, because they're easy, they're aggro, they're fast. If you have someone who's new to Magic, you can give them this deck, tell them play creatures, target, put spells on your creatures, make them big, attack. It's really easy for them to pick up, and it's really great for my situation I'm in, where I have a lot of siblings and stuff that don't really play Magic all the time, and when I can convince them to play Magic, if they have a good time, it's a good thing, and if they can pick it up fast and easy, it's really great. So I have a slightly different deck that I hope is just as easy to play. It's a little more complicated with mana and things like that, but the goal of it is mana ramp into big creatures, and these things are fun to play too. So I call this my flashy Hydra deck because it has a ton of Hydras in it, and what's better than having a couple flash creatures to scare your opponent with? So that's what this is. Start off with the mana base. There are 11 forests and 5 islands. So it is a blue-green deck, mostly green though. And so those are just the basic lands. Non-basic lands, I have 4 Temple of Mysteries. They're good with the Scry. They give you the blue and the green, depending on what you need. And I also have 2 Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. And these things are awesome, especially when most of the creatures in this deck have 2 green in, or have 2 green in their mana, so your devotion goes up way fast, which is great. And so you can get a ton of stuff and just pump your Hydras into these insanely huge creatures, which is the goal. So for my rampy creatures, I've got 4 Elvish Mystics. Just do a typical 1-drop, 1/1, and tap to get a green mana, which is really awesome. But just that. I also have 4 Kiora's Followers. Now, these cost 2, a blue and a green, and they untap another target permanent, which is fantastic, so you can have a couple of those out, and once you have all the mana you need, you just have them sit there and untap your creatures after they've attacked. It's great. So it's almost like they have Vigilance, but not quite. It's pretty cool for those creatures. I also have the All-Star 2-mana Sylvan Caryatid. That's a defender. It has hexproof. It's a 0/3. It taps for whatever color mana you need. This card is awesome. It is so great. It's going to block those small white or your small weenie creatures that your opponent has at the beginning. It has hexproof, so it can't be the target of anything. It's an awesome card, and it's great for mana ramping. Alright, so for my 3-drops, I have another rampy-ish mana creature. It's not really rampy, but the Courser of Kruphix is fantastic. For 3 mana, it is a 2/4, which is great, so it's going to block all those small things at the beginning. And it has this awesome ability where you get, granted you do play with the top of your library exposed, so your opponent knows what's coming, but you can cushion your draws and stuff by playing lands off of the top of that, which is really great. It's going to get your faster draws. You're going to be able to get the mana you need when you need it. It's a really great card, and I have 4 of those in this deck. And the 2 pips and the casting cost is great for devotion with the Nykthos Shrine. Alright, so my Hydra creatures. I've got 4 Mistcutter Hydras. Now these are X mana and a green, and it's, however, X is its toughness in the end, so, or its power and toughness. So these are great. They can't be countered. They have protection from blue, and so you can get one of these out, and they also have haste. So you can get one of these out, swing immediately, and they either have to come up with a way to get rid of it right then and there, and when you've got those Nykthos Shrines on, that's going to be a lot of damage. It's really fun to play these out. I also include 3 Polukranos, 2 mana and 2 green, which, again, that devotion makes it awesome with the shrine. But you end up, it has a monstrosity ability of XX and a green, and you get to put those counters on it, and you also, it does X damage divided as you want among whatever number of target creatures your opponent controls. So you do, when you monstrous, you get to do damage to those creatures that you just can't get off, like if flying creatures, this deck is very susceptible to flying creatures, so you can get rid of those by its monstrous ability. Otherwise, it's a 4-drop that's a 5/5. That is great. I also include 4 Heroes Banes. This card is fun to play. It's 3 mana and 2 green, and it starts off as a 4/4, but every time you put 4 mana into it, you get to double the number of counters on it. So you have that with a Shrine to Nykthos. You can put tons of mana into this creature and get it to be huge. It's great. I also include 4 Hydra Broodmasters. This card is also awesome. It's 4 mana and 2 green for a 7/7. That's really good. And then the monstrosity ability is even better. It's XX green, and you get X number of new Hydras that X number of Hydra tokens that are XX onto the battlefield when you monstrosity him. So you can go from one single Hydra to a huge number of Hydras really, really fast with these Nykthos Shrine and all your mana, ways to generate mana. You're going to have a monstrosity of Hydras. It's really fun to play with. Alright, I also have a couple of flash creatures to make things even bigger because it's just not big enough, this deck. Some of these, I mean, it's only a 7/7. It can do better than that. So I include 3 Boon Satyrs. Now these are cost of 1 mana and 2 green, or you can bestow it for 3 and 2 green. And like I said, this ramp deck has tons of mana ways to generate mana, so you're going to be able to bestow it very, very quickly. And it's a 4/2 creature, and it has flash, so you can put it on at any time you would an instant, which is fantastic. So like I said, this deck is a little susceptible to fire, so I do have 4 cards in the main deck to help against fires. And I have 4 copies of Fleetfeather Cockatrice. I like this card. It's 3 mana and a green and a blue, but it has flash, it has death touch, it has monstrosity, and it starts off as a 3/3. It is awesome to be able to flash it in and just blow out your opponent when they're flying creatures and they're attacking into death touch. It's great to do that. So that is my flashy Hydra deck. I really like playing this thing. It can be a big blowout, but like I said, it is susceptible to a lot of flying cards, so it probably would have a good idea to, in your sideboard, have things like Arbor Colossus, maybe Aerial Formation to give your creatures flying, things like that if you're going to be going up against a flying deck. So, but other than that, I really, really love playing this deck. There's nothing more fun than being able to throw huge, big, fatty creatures out really early in the game, and your opponent just can't handle them. It's great. So let me know what you think below in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more.